Welcome into 5 Wide Fantasy. Today's video, buy low and sell high players. Everyone's favorite show. Also a very difficult one for us to put together because we got to put ourselves in line with some players that are performing well and tell you why you should sell them. So if you enjoy the video, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below with any players you might be considering trading or any trades you might be considering. We always love to answer as many of those as we can. And this show presented by Betfred. Bet 50. Get 250 over at Betfred for the NFL this weekend and the rest of the season. That link is down below in the description. You guys got to go check them out. Some easy free money to play with to get your account started over at Betfred.
Definitely.
Ryan, shall we?
Yeah.
You want to start with buy low or sell high?
I'm going to start with my sell high. It's tough. I think it was easier to find some sell high guys compared to buy low just because it's so early in the season and there's still some unknown factors for a lot of these teams. Yeah. But one guy that I'm selling high on right now is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's currently the RB5 to maybe some people's surprise. He's an RB5 too with just 22 touches, which is pretty crazy. If you're looking at other running backs who are in the top 10 right now, they easily have over 30 touches. And in week 1 was his main big production. He scored 2 touchdowns against Cardinals. But if you look at week 2, he still finished as the RB8, but McKinnon was much more involved, especially in the red zone. McKinnon had 3 red zone touches compared to CEH's 0. So I think that's definitely something that fantasy owners should be looking into. And we do know, regardless of who is at running back or receiver, if you have Mahomes at quarterback, this is a pass-first offense. And some people might think, obviously, Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been a good receiving back. He was the same thing at LSU as well. But Jerick McKinnon kind of fills in that same role. And in Andy Reid offense, it's hard to really focus on just one running back when in terms of fantasy. There hasn't been really a reliable Chiefs running back, I think, since, I would say probably Jamal Charles, if I'm thinking back correctly. But if you even in this receiving offense, you look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, his 7 targets. McKinnon has 6. So really, these guys last week was pretty much a 50-50 split. McKinnon ended up scoring in the red zone as well, so he made good with his chances. So right now, I just don't think it's very realistic to think that Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to continue to be an RB5 or even stay in the top 12 out of running backs. So I think there's a great opportunity if you do have other running backs to sell high on him or even look for a running back that's kind of had a maybe not a bad start, but a slower start. That, in my mind, is no touchdown production. So there's 2 guys that I think of right away are Javonte Williams and Leonard Fournette. I feel like for whatever reason, Leonard Fournette's stock is a little bit down. A lot of people have been talking about Rachaad White, even though Fournette has produced pretty well. He just hasn't scored. He's further down in the RB20 range right now. Javonte Williams, kind of the same thing, still kind of in that backfield with Melvin Gordon, but I think his snap count and target share is going to continue to increase as this Broncos offense develops. And then A.J. Dillon's also a target that I would look at as well. He had kind of a worse week in week 2 compared to week 1, scoring a touchdown in week 1. So those are 3 running backs that I would try to target with CH if you have them.
Yeah, I think he's a prime candidate for you. Like if there's going to be people that you play with that think about the Chiefs offense and just think this is the number 1 back on the Chiefs offense, and really it's a clear split. The splits, the snaps have been split both right in half the last 2 weeks. Yeah. So the volume and opportunity isn't really there to a high enough degree that can warrant a top 12 finish in my mind. So I think there's a really good opportunity for you guys if you have them. So I like that. Mine, sticking with the running backs. I'm going to Antonio Gibson. Right now he's the running back 11 through the first 2 weeks. He's 12th in attempts. He's getting the carries. He's getting a decent workload, but he's averaging just 3.1 yards per carry. So Brian Robinson, if you saw the news, if you saw the videos of him working out on the side in practice, there is a chance that he will be back and ready to play in week 5. And I think that's a major problem when it comes to Antonio Gibson's value. We're already worried about J.D. McKissic as the other pass catching option, but as well Curtis Samuel has been kind of living around the line of scrimmage, and I think has impeded upon Antonio Gibson's opportunities as a pass catcher. But I think in no doubt, once Brian Robinson's back, he will have opportunities, especially in the goal line. He's that more physical back to be able to score and convert those inside the 5 opportunities. And Gibson's had 4 inside the 5 opportunities already. He's one of the most in the league. I think that changes once Robinson's healthy. But right now, this kind Commanders' offense is scoring. They're averaging 27.5 points per game, almost 400 yards per game. They just came off of 2 games against 2 of the worst defenses in the league last season. So I don't think this is something we should expect to continue from this offense. And I don't think there's going to be as many scoring opportunities for Gibson and the ease of being able to move the ball. They got the Eagles on deck next week. I think this is a good opportunity to sell on him at his current value. Some players, you mentioned A.J. Dillon, some other guys, T. Higgins and Alvin Kamara haven't had big weeks yet. Those could be potential players that you look to. And then Miles Sanders, I've really liked Miles Sanders' usage and performance so far through the first 2 weeks. I think being able to trade Antonio Gibson for Miles Sanders is something I think you could do very easily.
Yeah, I think this is also a great one. I was pretty high on Brian Robinson in the offseason, and obviously unfortunate news what happened to him before. But I think when he comes back, this is kind of maybe not going to be his sole backfield, but I think him and Antonio Gibson at this point will be a 50-50 split back. We've seen Ron Rivera do that in the past when he was in Carolina. D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart were both guys that he rolled with. And yeah, Curtis Samuel, I think, is definitely someone that is a cause for concern for Antonio Gibson's production. They use
it hasn't
in the
been
red
so
zone,
far,
some trickery, but I think moving forward, I think this is kind of like the ceiling that you have with Antonio Gibson. So I think this is definitely, and targeting, honestly, T. Higgins is also, I forgot to mention that. That's a great guy to be looking at as well, considering he was kind of hurt in week 1, so he played like half the game, and then in week 2, the Bengals offense hasn't really gotten rolling yet. So
yeah, he's well down there in terms of, I don't know what his finish is right now, but it's probably in the 30s, 40s, maybe even higher than that. So now to get to the guys that you guys can trade for. We want you to trade for.
Yes, and we're gonna play a little game here, Tyler. All right? Do you know who and what team these guys play for? Okay. Pharaoh Brown. Do you know who he is and who he plays for?
Cowboys.
No, he plays for the Texans, tight end for the Texans.
Oh, okay.
Kylan Granson.
You have Kylan Granson's name. I don't know.
And don't worry, I don't expect you to know these guys because I didn't know who these people are.
Yeah, I don't know.
He's a tight end for the Colts. And then lastly, Eric Sobert, I think is his name.
Yeah,
or Sobert.
Eric Sobert, I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, he plays for the Broncos. Well, all these guys have one thing in common, and they're all have had better fantasy seasons than Kyle Pitts to this point, which is crazy. Kyle Pitts is a guy that I'm buying low on right now. He's the tight end 35 right now. He was going in the 3rd round, supposed to be this tight end 3 or 4, kind of in that Mark Andrews, or I guess Darren Waller, Mark Andrews range, maybe not Travis Kelce, a little bit lower tier than those guys, but still someone who generated a ton of targets last year. It's crazy to me that this guy, he has 110 targets last year in his rookie season. He has 10 so far this year, and he only has 1 touchdown. Like the bubble is going to burst on this guy. It's just like obviously taking him a little bit longer to get in to demand these targets, especially with a new quarterback in Marcus Mariota. He has 4 catches on 10 targets right now for just over 35 yards, I think it is. So perfect buy low candidate. And one of the reasons why I think he can produce in this offense is because we're seeing Marcus Mariota do this with Drake London. And I don't think that Drake London is going to. He has 22 targets through 2 weeks. I don't think he's going to continue to demand this amount of targets in this offense. He has a touchdown, just around 150 yards receiving, and I think like 11 or 12 catches. So this is something where I think Marcus Mariota is going to start to look Kyle Pitts' way a little bit more, knowing the fact like he's a huge playmaker. Like they have to get him involved in the offense. And I think one other good thing to note too, Cordarrelle Patterson only has like 3 or 4 catches right now. He's obviously not as big of a factor in this passing game as he was last year. It seems like his role is, in my opinion, starting to diminish a little bit more. He had a career high in running back touches in week 1 at 25, and last week he had like just around 7. So they're going to be playing from behind a lot. In week 1, it was a little bit of a different case. They got an early lead on the Saints. He has a great matchup this week, I think. So if you can get him this week, it'd be perfect. They're playing the Seahawks. They haven't really gone up against a good tight end. Jamal Adams is out. The secondary is really not as good as what it used to be. So guys, honestly, that I think you can probably target with, considering I bet a lot of people, even in dynasty leagues, are maybe starting to get a little frustrated with Kyle Pitts. Like the fact that he just doesn't score any touchdowns. Darren Waller, I would even trade Kyle Pitts for right now.
Yep.
Pat Freiermuth has had a great start to the season. You might be able to trick some people into trading him, along with maybe adding another piece. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, too, another person that I would trade Kyle Pitts for, no problem. So
yeah. When you're looking at a guy like Kyle Pitts, there's not a lot of tight ends that you could. But Darren Waller's definitely one. His route participation's been down a bit. He had a solid week, or he's had a couple solid weeks. I would definitely do that. I would definitely trade Darren Waller for Kyle Pitts. Now, another player who's obviously had a down few weeks, but if you're smart, if you look at underlying numbers, you don't pay attention only to fantasy finish, I think Deontay Johnson is a player that you might not get a better chance to buy than right now. He's the wide receiver 30 in PPR formats, but he's 9th in targets and 10th in receptions. He's averaging 11 targets and 6.5 receptions per game right now, and a 28.2% target share. Doing Deontay Johnson things where he is the clear alpha wide receiver in the offense, and he just hasn't been able to score quite yet, and he hasn't put together like a massive yardage total. But his average depth of target is the highest of his career so far, which isn't too surprising considering we're going to lose a 40-year-old Big Ben, and I guess Mitchell Trubisky hasn't been putting up great numbers so far. The offense has been pretty bad, but someone who's willing to push the ball downfield a little bit more than Big Ben was in the last few years. I think the Steelers' offense, like I mentioned, is bottoming out. They've only scored 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. I don't think that continues. I have a lot of faith in Mike Tomlin being able to turn this thing around. I still think it's Trubisky who's going to be at quarterback, but either way, I do think this offense will get better, and Deontay Johnson is a clear alpha wide receiver in the offense, so you're getting a chance to get him at probably a good discount. Some players I look to get him: Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, and David Montgomery. If you have any of those 4 players, I would go get Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I agree with you to a certain extent. I still have yet to see kind of any sort of excitement in this Steelers offense.
Yep.
He is a guy that can really move all over the field. We've seen his reception total get really high in years past. So if Trubisky can emulate some sort of the same passing strategy as they did with Big Ben, I think he can definitely be a buy low candidate. Who are some guys that you're looking to trade for him?
I said Terry McLaurin, okay. Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, and David Montgomery.
Interesting.
Okay. I think that I get the offense. The offense was stale last year, and Deontay Johnson still put up elite target numbers. So it looks like he's on pace to continue to do that. Like 11 targets a game over the course of a 17-game season is what, like 190 targets or so. So the targets are there, which is good. And I think that again, this is an offense that will likely get better.
Yeah, it'll find its groove eventually.
Yeah. So I think we got elite numbers here. We just are missing a few big plays and a touchdown. Yeah. Or else he'd be a top 12 guy already.
There you go.
So buy low, sell high, guys. Let us know what you think of the players. Let us know if with these players, are there some other guys you have that you want to trade to get them? Happy to talk about that. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys next time.